Hi, my name is Mackenzie, and fun fact about me, I have never gotten over anything ever. I find that my grudges fuel me and make me more powerful. But I think there is a distinct difference between holding a grudge and trauma. For example, I can hold a grudge against someone for cutting me off in traffic or forgetting my name. Holding a grudge can, in fact, be a choice, and I am pro grudge holding. But trauma is not a choice. And the effects that trauma have on the body long term are often incurable. People, like me, have to take medication or be in very intense therapy just to survive after a traumatic experience. And there's no shame in doing so. But something that a lot of religions don't understand, including the one that I grew up in, is that forgiveness does not cure PTSD. And telling people to just get over their trauma does nothing. It's like spitting on a roaring fire. But preaching about forgiveness and giving zero nuance when it comes to abuse is something that many Mormons, including Nick Sales, preach.
Some of them are as serious as being assaulted when they were little or experiencing continuous abuse through their childhood years. But a common thing that I see with these stories is that we as humans have a really hard time of letting go of grudges. I think that there are several seemingly understandable reasons for this. Maybe we want to get revenge. We want that person to suffer like we suffered. We need to understand that it is not healthy to hold on to something for longer than we should. It is not healthy to turn grief into unnecessary suffering. Pain is inevitable, but unnecessary suffering is a choice.
Nick Sales is a self-proclaimed filmmaker, motivational speaker, and legacy builder. And oh, what a legacy he has built. He is best known for his Faith and Focus podcast that, from what I can gather, only started in June of last year. So it had a good 4-month run before a woman came across a video of his and decided to post about her experience with him in a private Facebook group comprised of women who are currently on a faith journey in or out of the Mormon church. This anonymous poster said that she recognized his face immediately as someone who had SA'd her when she was 18 years old. Afterwards, he called her an evil temptress, an agent of Satan, and told her she needed to go to the bishop for what he had done to her. She concluded in her post that Nick is not the kind of person who should be running a faith-based podcast. This post then prompted another victim of Nick's to comment underneath it to say the almost exact thing happened to her, and she thought she was the only one, which is extremely common for victims as they are often manipulated and shamed into silence. Unfortunately, Nick Sales' sisters happened to be in this Facebook group, who then shared the post with him. Screenshots of this Facebook post were circulating on TikTok, and that is when I got involved in why I'm making this video today. I am one of the people who initially shared those screenshots, but I later took down my video as I heard through the grapevine that the original posters were not comfortable with their explicit details of their assaults being shared to other platforms, even though their names were blocked out and Nick was already aware of the post. It just made them really uncomfortable, and it actually goes against the private Facebook group's rules, which is that everything that's said in there stays in there. I apologized and I made a new video consisting of many more stories that were sent to me in my DMs. All in all, I have compiled a list of 18 victims of Nick Sales, and I would not be surprised if that number grew after this video. I will not be sharing the original post that was made, but here are some stories that I have been given explicit permission to share while their names are redacted. One of the first women who messaged me said that Nick refused to take no for an answer and would constantly push her physical boundaries. She would tell him she didn't want to have sex, and he'd say, "Well, what I'm hearing is you want to have sex. I really hope he gets help for his hearing loss soon." This same person said that he was extremely emotionally abusive and the ultimate gaslighter, which, seeing the kind of content he posts, checks out. Here's a tweet he once made saying, "If you refuse to forgive someone who hurt you, you are just allowing them to hurt you more." And we no longer have to ask ourselves what he was talking about, as many of his victims told me that this was something he preached to them often. Another woman said that he would send her general conference talks and tell her she was going to hell for not forgiving him him for both cheating on her and assaulting her in a parking lot. Apparently, Nick Sales was so well known in his small town that he grew up in Utah, for this kind of behavior that previous victims' family members would reach out to the women they heard he was dating to warn them. And he has in fact been engaged 4 times, and the 4th time finally stuck, and he has currently been married for a couple of years. And I just found out that they are now pregnant with their first child. God. Again, this is about Nick. This is not about his family, so please do not go contact his wife or anyone else, as they are both well aware of this situation and they are not involved. It is about holding Nick Sales accountable for the many, many people that he has traumatized with his actions. He told one person that she needed to forgive her dad for R-wording her, and then shamed her for not being more physical with him. Predators defend predators. What do you know? There was an allegation of him SAing a 15-year-old when he was 21 years old, which defending schmetophiles is also in Nick's repertoire.
Like, hey, did you know that Joseph Smith married all these women? Some of them were as young as 14 years. Back in his day, it was actually legal to marry a girl that was that young.
Now, I obviously do not think that anyone who thinks Joseph Smith was a prophet is a schmetophile. I think anyone who defends Joseph marrying a 14-year-old girl definitely has some secrets and should probably be on a list if they're not already. I have yet to be wrong on that account. The horrific stories just go on and on and on. Every day there was a new victim in my inbox telling me that they had seen my video and that they had a similar story to share. He has also allegedly admitted to not only these women that what he did was in fact SA, but he has also admitted this to other people who were not his victims. This is a DM that I got that kind of blew my mind, and yes, I have permission to share this. Nick Sales allegedly admitted to this person that he had SA'd someone else, but he had made amends and had learned his lesson. I don't know about you guys, but I usually don't have to learn the same lesson 18 times. And this brings me to the Mormon Church's involvement in all of this. Obviously, having a faith-centered podcast, Nick is an active Mormon. So when he's telling people he has, quote, repented of his sins, what that means is he has seen a bishop, confessed his assaults, he has not been reported to the police, and he's been forgiven by both that bishop and by God. So that's why he got so upset that all these women wouldn't forgive him. I mean, Jesus is cool with it. Why aren't you? And Nick is the result of seeking bishops for counsel for extremely serious psychological issues. I don't know what Nick Sales has going on mentally, but I know he ain't right up here. But instead of directing him to authorities, or at the very least a mental health professional, and I am not talking about LDS Family Services, y'all know how I feel about them, they do nothing. They give him a pat on the head and say, good job for admitting that what you did was wrong. It's like the bad thing never happened, except there's entire other person left traumatized in the wake of what he's done, who has no tools to heal other than being yelled at by their abuser for not forgiving them. You would never yell at an army veteran suffering from PTSD to just get over the fireworks, and you should never ever tell a victim of abuse to just get over it. It does nothing. And if you comment and ask why the victims have not gone to the police themselves, and if they haven't, then it must not have happened, just block yourself already and save me some time. Abusers often threaten, manipulate, and shame their victims into silence, so much so that they don't even tell their family or friends, much less the police, who are less than helpful when it comes to SA. Especially in Mormon land in Utah, where Mormons protect other Mormons, it is extremely difficult to get SA cases prosecuted even with evidence, and it is so rare that predators ever go to prison or get listed on the Schmeck's offender registry. And let's say a victim does report her assault and ends up going to court. They have to face their abuser again to testify. And that is not something that most victims are willing to put themselves through. It completely re-traumatizes them, and it can have major setbacks in their healing journey, especially when a defense lawyer's job is to stand there and accuse them of lying. So that's just more trauma on top of what they've already suffered. I had victims telling me that just hearing his voice was very triggering for them, and multiple women telling me they were in therapy and still processing what had happened to them. I had one person tell me that they have had nightmares since. This isn't a fucking joke. This isn't cancel culture. This is accountability, which is supposedly part of the entire Mormon repentance process. We're supposed to suffer the consequences of your actions. And if you did something illegal, you were supposed to go through that process as well. But church authorities completely sidestep that and protect their own. And then more people get hurt because the predator keeps repenting. Listen, you are allowed to pray to God and do whatever it is you think you need to do for your soul. That's between you and Jesus. But you also need to be held accountable in this life as well. It is not your right to commit crimes and not suffer the consequences for those crimes. We don't give this same leniency to thieves or unalivers, but for some reason, men who commit this atrocity, it's just like, a little hiccup, no biggie. That is alarming, and if you are a member of the church, you should be alarmed. Mormon leaders say that sexual sin is second only to schmurder, and they include consensual sex outside of marriage in this. But for some reason, you get the same punishment, whether it's consensual or non-consensual. And morally, I do agree that SA is up there next to murder. It is absolutely life-ruining, but the church doesn't treat it like that. And if the church can't distinguish between sleeping with a partner who you are in love with and SAing someone or a child, you are not a church that believes in Jesus Christ and his example. Jesus said that people who hurt kids should be drowned at sea. The Mormon church says, call them as bishops and forgive them. I'd say I don't understand, but I do. I do understand. Men protect men. And as a woman, it is my passion and my responsibility to protect other women and other victims of these men. So why am I making this video now and not back in October? I was very overwhelmed back then. I had a burner account commenting on my post, defending Nick and arguing with me in the comments, to the point where I was told by someone who's close to the situation that they were 100% positive this burner account was Nick Sales, and I will eat my shirt if it's not. I'm very convinced that it is his burner account. So I got a little bit of a taste of what it's like to deal with him, and it was mind-blowing, the arguments that this person was trying to make. I ended up blocking them, but talking about this is very emotionally draining as a victim myself, but I think it is important and necessary to talk about. These were all things that were alleged to me. I am not stating anything as fact, I am just stating my opinion. And Nick has gone silent on social media since this all went down, and I don't think he's gonna be too happy about this video either. He still has a very large following on Instagram. I have several Mormon friends that follow him, and they know nothing about this. He hasn't lost followers because of this. All that happened was he privated his TikTok account because the ex-Mormon community was all over this. But on Instagram, he's just deleting comments and blocking people, so you're not gonna find anything about this on his Instagram either.
Okay, I lied. He has made 2 statements about everything, and that is it. Neither of these were to me. This first one was to another TikToker. Everyone say thank you, Jimmy, and I will read it for you. Hey, I appreciate that you're trying to get some info on this since the allegations are very serious. I've been made aware of the situation, and I'm talking with my sisters who have been in contact with the girls that made the allegations. I'm actively working on hearing them, and I want to make sure everyone is okay and that we reach a good solution on this. Some things that have been said are deeply concerning, and I appreciate the intent behind standing up for victims. It's crucial to remember the harm that can come from rushing to judgment without all the facts. I really appreciate the people who have had their and my best interest at heart and who are seeking truth before canceling someone without getting all the facts. Notice he does not deny anything in this statement. The second statement was to the Instagram account at Latter-day Saints 2, which if you're not following them, do that right now. They talk about victims of SA within the LDS Church as well. He messaged them saying, I deny the allegations made in the original Facebook post. I've been in contact with the person who made the original post, and the matter has been resolved. Taking it right from the LDS Church, we consider this matter closed. So he denies the allegations in this one, but he was tiptoeing around it in the first statement. And in the private Facebook group, which no, I'm not going to show the screenshots, but in his sister's response to the post, she said that Nick was extremely sorry and was willing to pay for therapy. She then updated her comment saying that he denies the allegations. So it looks like he was initially remorseful-ish and then decided to take all that back and double down that he has done nothing wrong ever, and these bitches just be crazy.
There is a larger YouTuber who is interested in interviewing victims of Nick, and if that is you and you want to come forward, please let me know and I can get you in touch. I do not have the equipment for interviews in my videos, and this person has a much larger following, so I am happy to guide people over there where they can get a bigger reach than I would. Thank you for watching this video. I have another video coming out about a different predator who has been protected by the LDS Church. I could make 1,000 of these videos. There is a new one coming up every single day. There's simply too many for me to cover. It's that bad. Please check out floodlit.org if you haven't already. It is a database of over 600 predators within the Mormon Church, and many of them were protected by the church. Say goodbye to Trixie and Rexy, or I will find you. Bye.